Welcome back to another episode of the Unblock Your BS podcast. On today's episode, I'm bringing a dude who knows men and how to help them unblock their own BS. And so Jim Vance is my guest today, and I've been following Jim pretty much since I got on TikTok 2 or 3 years ago. He is the conscious man on TikTok, and he very much speaks to, from a male's perspective, a lot of the same types of stuff that I share, but in a way that is relatable to men in the words of men, and obviously being a man himself who has gone through the healing journey and now coaches other men on how to create more emotional awareness, how to create safety with your partner, understanding the dynamics in your relationship or in your marriage. Jim is the go-to guru. So in this episode, we go there. Why so many men feel emotionally stunted, how shame keeps them stuck. We do a beautiful deep dive on shame, and why connection feels so elusive for guys who never were taught how to relate. So whether you're healing from heartbreak or learning how to love a good man better, or you're trying to be the best man and the best version of yourself you can be, this conversation is likely going to hit home. It's full of practical wisdom. It really roots it in understanding both in logic and how to logic and understand what's happening within your body by way of your nervous system and your emotions, and having compassion for the human experience, honestly. And so I'm so excited for today's guest, Jim Vance of The Conscious Man. So let's get into it. Well, Jim, welcome to the podcast. So excited to have you on. Why don't you share who you serve, how you help people, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. My name is Jim Vance. I go by my brand name is The Conscious Man. I help high performing men stand under power, life, business, and relationships. I've been doing this for about 6 years and I love it. I'm excited to talk to you though.
I love it. Well, kind of tell me about your journey to not just even becoming a conscious man, but also getting into the realm of helping men kind of discover their power. Like where'd your story begin that you went on a healing journey and self-awareness journey?
Uh,
Time to be had.
oh yeah. It started about, I think 14 years ago. I got divorced and got separated and then divorced. And then the separation, uh, legally, I had to provide a house for my ex-wife and my kids to live in. So I was homeless for about 9 months.
Oh,
Um, and it was crazy. I have 3 degrees. So I'm sitting there living in a car. I'm in the parking lot of the high school I was teaching at the time. And you get a lot of alone time. And what was at that same time, that the week after I became homeless, my dad passed away. The week after that, my best friend was murdered.
oh wow.
So the 2 guys I could talk to the most were gone. So I had to talk to myself a lot. And so for about 2 years, I was in a just kind of learning myself again, being single and what that felt like. I repeated the pattern, got into a pretty sticky relationship that was not good, and, um, realized in the middle of that relationship, I needed to work on myself.
Yeah.
Ended up meeting my wife now, in that process about 12 years ago, and she had gone through a divorce at the same time I had gone through a divorce, and hers was from a narcissistic relationship, and then we got out of our divorces and got into relationships with even harder narcissists, which was rough, and so she got out of hers and started working on herself. She had hired a life coach and all of that stuff, and me, I had done all my work by myself, so I got into a relationship with her. So she was, I always say she's 22 steps ahead of me, at that point. But what was great about her, she held space for me to grow. Like she held a standard, but she held space. It wasn't there was no judgment in it. There was like, I see you and I know you have it in you. And I'm going to hold space so you can do it. And it's the first time anybody had ever showed up in that capacity in my life. Um, and we had our moments. The first 2 or 3 years of our relationship was rocky because we had to figure out how to actually what a healthy relationship looked like together,
Right.
what it looked like to be masculine and feminine together, what it looked like to have two people that were powerful in the same place. Because we had both been in relationships where we were the powerful figures. And so bringing two powerful people together makes it difficult.
Be explosive.
It can be. But with consistency and with work, like individual work, we were able to raise the level of the relationship. And So I got into coaching because of her. She started coaching 10 years ago. And um, she was coaching these women all the time, and the men would reach out to me and like, "What the hell is going on? Like, why is my wife acting this way? What's happening?" Da, 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 da. And so I ended up just being of support on the backside, never coached, just being of support to guys. And then my wife got to a point, she's like, "Hey, those guys aren't doing anything with this shit." I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "People don't do shit with advice. So either you're gonna have to step into coaching or you gotta stop giving advice."
Yeah.
And so and so in 2019, 29 2019, beginning of 2019, I started just talking about my story online, talking about everything I've been through, the work I was doing on myself, and then just started reaching out. And in 2020, I came home from corporate America because of COVID. I worked from home all the time. And at the same time, all the men in America were coming home to their wives for the first time and having to be in the house with them for 24 hours a day. And they shit themselves. And so they started talking to me. And ever since that,
He was born.
yeah, opportunity was born. And it's evolved over time. We were heavy in relational dynamics during 2020 to 2023. And now we're more into power couple dynamics and
Yeah.
like what that feels like. Yeah.
Ooh, do tell. So kind of talk to me about what working with couples to become a power couple and actually build each other up rather than one person trying to pull the other down or you're both drowning. What does that look like?
Mm, I think it's I think a lot what we believe in, I and what a lot of people don't believe in is that they believe that the relationship could get fixed without fixing the people.
Mm,
And we believe in if you fix the people, they can fix the relationship. And and when you have powerful people in the same place, there's not a lot to fix. It's just like redialing their energy, redialing their own leadership, redialing how they communicate with each other, redialing the values and standards they hold for the relationship. It's not a what we found out in like the 20 to 2023 range is a lot of people wanted to save their marriage from divorce. And now it's a lot of people just want to have a great relationship.
yeah.
And that's a better feeling, and that's way more feasible. Because I don't know, you probably do too. I get probably 50 messages a week of, "Hey, I'm getting divorced next week. Can you help me save my marriage?" I'm like, "No, I can't."
The ship has sailed, my friend.
I've gotten 30 this week,
Okay.
and I'm like, is there that much divorce, and are you that blind?"
Yeah.
Yeah. But so she works with women, I work with men, and then we're rebooting our own couples podcast that we had for the last 3 or 4 years, and we're gonna kinda gear it more toward power couple dynamics because that's just where we are.
Yeah, it's
And
such a different approach to what their focus is on rather than trying to avoid pain. It's moving towards something, and that can be very motivating for
yeah,
couples to have a joint mission for the relationship that they're moving towards, as opposed to, it would be too painful for me to look at my stuff, and so I'm gonna blame you or make you responsible. It's like, no, 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 no. We have to kill off the old versions of us and create something new.
yeah, it's just like co-creating the life that they want.
Yeah.
And you might not be doing the same thing. That's what we're very big on is like we don't need people that are just they're doing the same job together.
Yeah.
Like you can have a CEO and a life coach. You can have a life coach and somebody that runs whatever, a chiropractic clinic, whatever it may be. It's just two powerful people that have purpose in the world that live in the same house without one having to be subservient to the other.
Yeah. And you avoid resentment when you guys are both bought in on the greater mission.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
100%.
Absolutely.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your journey. Gosh, there's more to that than I knew. So there was a post I saw the other day that you did, and I loved kind of your intensity around it. So I'm going to read the comment that you responded to, and then I'm just going to let you loose and kind of give your take on it. Because this woman had commented on one of your videos, and she said, "Why does my guy say things like this is just what men do?" The newest thing for this man, who's like apparently 44, is go to strip clubs, but more specifically, backroom dances, where he says tons of men do these things. It's just what they do. Elaborate. Is this true? This is just boys being boys?
It is a It's a boy being a boy, yes. Absolutely.
It is.
I think there's this big misconception around midlife crisis, and I know it because I've been through it. And what I've found in the journey of it is most men they've lost themselves in the process of living their life. They've lost themselves in work, they lost themselves in their relationship, or they have no purpose in their world. And so they get to a point in their life where they're just like, who the hell am I?
Yeah.
I need to go acquire all these things so I feel like something. So
The world tells me I need this.
yeah,
I'd be a man, and this is what a man is.
I need to go get me a convertible, or I need to go chase women, or I need to go get into shape. I don't mind. Go get in shape. But if you get in shape to go chase women and you're married, we got problems, right? And so you have these men that are constantly chasing something outside of themselves so that they feel like they're alive again.
Yeah.
But the reality is like the reason why you are where you are in that feeling is you've been chasing your whole life. You've been chasing love, you've been chasing success or acquisition or whatever it is, and you lost the man that you were in the process, and now you're trying to regain it by chasing more shit. Eh, and I'm, like, adamant on, like, chase yourself for once. Just chase yourself for 6 months and see how you feel. And what I found is most men, when they come back to themselves, they need less shit outside. They just need less. They're just more content in life and in their relationship, which is where most men find their pain in relationship because they don't know how to fucking relate with people. They've never been taught. Most of their relationship is um, transactional at best. And most women have been taught from like childhood, like how to relate through transformation. Like, how do I relate with love? And most men are, how do I relate with things?
Mm.
And it becomes and so when they get into a serious relationship and their wife starts calling them up, they don't know what the fuck to do because like, "This is what I know."
Right? This is who I am.
Yeah, and it really is, and it's no fault of their own, but, like, teaching men how to relate with people changes the world. It really changes everything around.
Agreed. 100%. I mean, that's been my experience, and it didn't have the intention of focusing in on more men's content, but I was getting more and more men of like, I need the female perspective. Kind of talk to me about how you approach feelings or emotions or that relationship component where men seem to struggle of like understanding that protect and provide is not just the physical protection and provision.
Yeah.
How do you bridge the gap between them having value and worth in what they do? Hold on. Here, here's stuff. He wants to say hi. Hey,
Oh, yeah.
cut this part out. My podcast ended. All right. So talk to me about how you help men understand the concept that protection and provision is not just physical in a relationship.
I think the first part of that is getting men to understand what their emotions are.
Yeah. How does that go over? The ones that are ready,
They already
are ready for it, but
they're already feeling it. It's like getting them to acknowledge it.
yeah, like
Uh,
anger is an emotion.
anger isn't the emotion. It's the compilation of a lot of little emotions.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What do you mean? I just feel angry." I say, "Yeah, because you're ignoring the rest of them." And so I give an example. I coached he was high up in government overseas I coached him for about a year. And one of the most masculine humans I've ever met, just like, wrestle bears kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he had a wife and a daughter, and he would go home and he would sit in the corner. He's like, "I don't know what to do. They scare me." I was like, "What do you mean they scare you?" "They talk about feelings and emotions and things like that, and I don't know how to handle it." And so, like, it had to go down to, like, the basics of, can you name the emotion? All right?
One.
Step 1, can you name this? Yeah. Okay, let's name it. Cool. What does that feel like? Explain it.
Yeah.
And then it gets to a point of, like, I get to a point where I get them to a level where it's, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this now? Is this actually happening to myself right now? Like, that's the number one question. Because about 85%, 80 to 85% of emotions happen to you before. You're just recalling them in the moment.
Yep.
And so getting men to understand, like, hey, most of your emotion is not now. You're just feeling it now. Things are indicating to you shit's going on. Pay attention. That's it. So I always say it's like an oil lamp on a car. If the oil lamp goes on, the car is not blowing up. You don't need to destroy it. You need to pay attention. Check the oil. That's it.
Yeah.
And when you break it down like simplicity, because men are very simple and very logical, you just give it logical steps. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? Did this happen to me? Did this happen to me in the past or it happened to me now? And do I need to communicate to somebody about this?
Yeah.
And they just walk through and you just get it fast. It gets faster and faster because emotions move fast. Like what, 7 to 30 seconds is an average emotion size.
Yeah.
And after 30 seconds, it's a story you tell yourself about the emotions. So it's like, can you slow down enough so the emotions don't make you move fast?
Yep.
Because when emotions are high, your intelligence is low. And so you get the ability to really like slow yourself down in the process by asking yourself questions about what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And it's good.
That's amazing because I mean, I teach the exact same thing, just obviously a different, way of saying it. Because I call it nervous system regulation when I'm talking about men, because it takes the bite of feelings and emotions off. It's the same thing, but it's literally okay, I use the feelingswheel.com. It's like, "Go tell me specifically what you're feeling," because at the center of the wheel, it's very basic, like sad, angry, happy. But when I try to logically communicate this to him, I'm like, if you go out on the wheel where there's more, we'll call them complex or layered emotions of hopelessness or helplessness or insecure, it's a different solution based on the feeling and based on the word. So look at, helplessness is very different than I'm feeling rejected, right? There's a different solution for it. So the better you can get at labeling the experience, that's step number 1 is labeling it. And then the nervous system response, like what is the sensation you feel in the body? And I'm not sure how familiar you are with my work, but I use breath work, somatic breath work. It's an hour-long session. It's like 10 years of therapy in one session. Get that out because all emotions are to take the scariness or the unknown to most men out of it is just a language your body uses to communicate to your brain. And when you can kind of look at it from that lens as opposed to this has meaning to it of I'm feeling rejected or my wife doesn't love me or whatever stories they paint out. It's what is it I'm experiencing that needs attention? And I do a lot of inner child work to go back in because a lot of our emotions are just immature or inner child versions of us that develop these skills and tools from childhood based on our parents
Yes.
that probably aren't working for you as an adult. And that's all these emotions are just showing you. You need to work on this skill to develop it so that it stops creating destruction. Because there haven't been too many men, especially probably in our world, that aren't seeking connection. Like that's what they buy into our content, even when they're crabby and cranky, right? It's about they're wanting connection. They're wanting to feel seen, heard, and understood. They just don't have the skills to this point to be able to do that because they're operating off of an old playbook. I say, like, the playbook you use in high school football is not going to get you into the NFL and create success. So you have to update the playbook.
That's it. I say it as when understood this, I got tired of thinking with a 5-year-old brain. Like I was 30, 35 and thinking with a 5-year-old brain, I got tired. Like I just like, this doesn't make sense to me. And but yeah, I agree. And I do nervous system work because that's huge because of where you feel things in your body. That's the because it's just stored emotion because you didn't process it. And it's like, that's why I'm a big reminder of this is why we process shit because if not, it gets in there and it takes work to get it out. It takes a lot of work. And my big one was communicating with my wife. Like that was where a lot of my nervous system trauma was. Sitting, and I call it sitting in the fire. So I created this thing, don't know where it came from. Like when we would talk about hard stuff, we had on my couch and I have a coffee table sitting in front. I would sit on the coffee table and I would put my knees against her knees and I put my hands on her lap and she put her hands on my hands and she would just spit fire into my soul. And I had to like breathe into the parts, like you're just breathing into the parts of yourself that are feeling it.
Yeah.
And I was just, because mine is like here, like I just want to say shit back. And I'm like, no, allow yourself to hear this because it's needed in the moment. Yeah.
There's information in the communication, and that's what when I work with couples, it learning to not argue over the surface level stuff, but listen for the information.
Yeah.
In the coaching world, there's surface level, what do they call it? Surface structure and then deeper structure. It's what they say versus what they mean. So if you get better at learning what information is there, which I can understand for men, it might be challenging with women because we say a lot of words. We just naturally say more words. And so it's kind of like a puzzle of like, what is the actual information that's being communicated versus letting the emotion affect your emotion so that you can be the rock for her waves of emotion to crash
Mhm.
against without
That's
creating
what
structure.
that's what kills communication in a relationship is a man's inability to feel somebody else's emotions without trying to fix it.
Yes.
Like, hey, they have emotion. I always say it, and I simplify and say, "Hey, what's she? How did she come to you? What was she feeling? She was feeling sad." I always say, "What does that mean about you?" And they're
Mm,
like, uh, 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 nothing." She was sad. I was like, "Okay, then why are you trying to do something with it?" And he
mhm.
goes, "Because she's my wife." I said, "I get it, but that's her emotion.
Yeah.
You can't fix her emotion. She needs to go through that." It's like, "You know how you help fix it?" He goes, "How?" "Let her fix it."
Let
But
her
you get
feel it.
yeah, let her feel it, let her fix it, but you get curious about her emotions, then she can fix it herself
Yeah.
because she's processing her emotion through you without you trying to tell her anything.
Yeah.
That's what it
And also the woman's part is also not to like be destructive in her emotion too and lead with vulnerability as well of being like, I don't know how to process this, but I'm really mad right now and it's causing me to cry.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
It's
and that
it's
that verbal diarrhea, yeah, like that emotional
yeah. Yep.
like,
And that's honestly like if and this is for both partners, but as a tool for men, if you can ask your partner questions about how she feels, she will process much faster because again, like you talked about
yes.
when emotion turns on, like logic turns off. And so if you can get her to process the emotion of, okay, label the feeling. Were you feeling that? What did you want to have happen? That will help her process much quicker so that she can actually get to her own solution without you being the one that's gonna come in and save the day and solve for the wrong problem, which is usually what I find couples argue over. They're arguing over the wrong problem.
The wrong freaking problem.
Yeah.
I always use feelings, facts, and impacts, like,
Yep.
how's she feeling? What are the facts behind her feelings, and how's that impacting her life currently?
And it's
I
not
mean
logical 90% of the time.
no, it's not. You can just listen, but if you listen, just listen in a framework of what is she feeling? Okay, that's what she's feeling. All right, what are the facts she's saying, and then how's that impacting her currently? And then repeat that back to her.
Mm,
And once you repeat about, I think you're feeling this, and here's why, and I could see it's impacting you this way. She can either correct you, and if she corrects you, she fixes it like that.
yeah,
But she's like, "Oh shit, it's this."
yeah.
And then she goes, or she's like, "Yeah, that's right.
And then
Let
she
me
feels
look up."
seen,
Then she sees, yeah.
and then she feels safe.
She feels seen both ways, but in the correction, it narrows it down for her to where she's like, "Oh, that's the problem."
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she was using the wrong language before, and now she caught where she because it was mirrored back to her. So good, so
Yeah.
good. I have a question about, men and shame. What is your take? Because that seems to be a running default for 99% of the men that I work with, that there's this constant loop of shame. How do you support a man in battling through that?
Um, I think that is probably the biggest thing that men deal with in general is the idea of, and there's that quote like shame hides in the shadows,
Mhm.
and they keep it there, but it just constantly is just there, and it's like a, I always say it was a lizard at one point, and now it's a dinosaur when you're in your 30s and 40s because it's never been dealt with. And so there are two different ways to deal with it. Number one is the thing of what does it look like to forgive yourself?
Yeah.
Like men are very good at forgiving the world. They're like men's hearts are huge
Yeah.
in allowing people to get off with shit. Like I forgive you because I love you. Even they might have like stabbed you in the back, and man will forgive you.
Yeah.
They don't forgive themselves for anything. They carry that to the deepest depths that they can imagine. I
Yeah.
mean, it could be the most incremental. I remember what my first coaching client, I coached 2 teenagers or 3 teenagers from the same city, um, my first 3 coaching clients, and they're all 16, and one of the kids said he had so much shame around the time when he was 5 years old, and I was like, "Well, tell me about it." because we're on a school trip, and um, there was this girl there I was trying to impress, and I started acting silly, and she looked at me crazy. And he goes, from that moment on, I felt like I was the biggest dork on the planet,
Yeah.
and
An identity is born.
I couldn't forgive myself for it. And so number one is like, how do you go about forgiving yourself? Like, I do a practice of it every day still. I've been doing it for 10 years. It's 5 things I forgive myself for every day. And if it's real heavy, it might take me a week to get through one,
Yeah.
like, because I will be crying my damn eyeballs out, and that's okay. So that's one. I think number 2 is, how do you speak truth into your shame? Like, I use the reference from the Bible. The first chapter of the Bible is, like, super powerful when it comes to transformation, because God spoke light into the dark,
Mhm.
and the world was created. He in the Bible, light is truth. And so, like, I get men to start actually diving into what they're shameful about, and, like, speak truth into it. Like, why is this shameful for you? And how would you handle it different? And if you were to take this information you had today and apply it to your future self, what would you tell your future self to train him to do this differently?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to go back, I think a lot of times we get so stuck in trying to go back and fix the past version of ourselves,
Yeah.
and we don't invest in the future version of ourselves. And
Right.
so
Like,
we're
when's enough enough? Like,
yeah,
shaming yourself enough.
exactly. And, how can you learn from that person? Because it was a person that you lived through. How can you learn from that person to make the next version of you better
Yes.
and move it forward, move it forward, move it forward? And you get to a point where you're like, all of my past shit is just teaching me how to be a better future version.
Mhm.
Instead of, I need to go to my past shit and reparent my past shit, and do surgery on my past shit, do surgery on my parents, and do surgery on the person to help me. No, you don't.
Yeah.
They all taught you lessons, and those lessons are for you to learn and live better. But we get so beholden to the fact that we went through it, that means that we're not good enough, and we're a piece of shit, and all that kind of stuff. And it creates this journey down deep where no matter what happens to us, we're always reflecting backwards instead of reflecting forwards. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Because in my experience, shame is a very poor motivator. Again, it's kind of like moving towards purpose as opposed to avoiding pain. With When you start to go kind of on this healing journey to really learn self acceptance, which is part of kind of a self love journey.
Yes.
Every time I'm coaching anybody through this, but specifically men, it's, did you do the best you knew to do at the time, no matter what the event was? And it's always a yeah, right? So you didn't know any better until you fucked up, right? So part of, that is taking ownership and accountability of like, yes, I made those choices, right? Or I even learned something from that. Well, okay, how do you feel about yourself now? Oh, I still feel like it's possible. I feel like when they loop on the shame, it's trying to control and prevent them from doing the action again. But that's like you said, it's focused on the past, trying not to be that version. Rather, who is the man now that's making different choices now based on the experiences? You either get the result you want or the lesson you need. Either way, you win. So if you're not taking the time to process and reflect back on the choices that you made in the past to learn why you made those choices, then it's going to be really hard to not recreate that in the future.
I agree.
Hence the healing journey, which is a beautiful thing to go on to learn how to evolve and grow to not cycle past hurts and pain.
Absolutely. I think too, I was picking up something you said there about self-acceptance. I think a large part of your shame can be dealt with when you realize, like, you're a little fucked up, and that's okay.
Oh,
We're
love.
we're all a little fucked up, right? Like, and I always say, like, you have the light and you have the shadows,
Yep.
and until you combine both of them, you're gonna separate yourself and feel bad about the shadows.
Yeah.
And if you bring light to the shadows, you're like, "Okay, everybody's a little fucked up." Right? We all do dumb shit. We all have stories. All have problems, but if you accept the version of you that is this, then you can start learning from it and working on it and growing it. But if you're always splitting yourself into pieces, that thing is never being worked on. That thing has never been accepted. And truly, like, the thing men start to realize is women can't actually love them because they can't see them fully. They always see
Potential.
follow potential. And well, and the men is like, they don't really know me.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, because you don't allow the world to see you.
You don't know you.
You don't know you. You don't accept you. And when you don't accept you, you present a version of you that's acceptable.
Yeah. But you can't maintain it for long periods of time.
And it fucks them up. And they're like, I did it for like 2 weeks. I was like, yeah, but what happened after that? He goes, I fucked it up again. I was like, yeah, because you can't outperform your identity.
Ooh. Say it
You
again, Jim.
you
Say it
c
again.
you just can't outperform it, and you always go back to the identity that you know until you change the identity to grow, right? Yeah, I wanna grow this thing to a different level,
Yeah.
and if you don't change the identity, you will return back to who you were,
Yep.
always.
That's what I see happening a lot with these men who are like their wife has come to them with a divorce or they're in the process of divorce and now they want to go to therapy and now they want to go to couples work. And the woman's probably, in most cases, been screaming and crying for her needs to be met and for healing to happen for maybe even years that she's finally checked out.
Yeah.
But and I always have this conversation. I ask them, are you doing this for you or are you doing this to save your marriage? Because that's a pretty good indicator if it's essentially being used as manipulation, well-intentioned manipulation, but it's not sustainable if you're doing it for someone else and you don't buy into the value because this work is not easy. It's going to challenge you and it's going to force you to grow, but you have if you don't choose it, it's going to be too confronting in a lot of ways to heal the parts of you that actually need to happen for connection.
Yeah, I won't take on a one-on-one client that's doing work for your wife.
Yeah.
Will not. But, hey, you can join my men's community
Right? Yeah.
until you decide you wanna work on yourself.
Yeah. It has
For
to
you.
be chosen.
Yeah,
Like
for
I do
you.
that too, where I have women reaching out like, "Hey, can you message my husband? Maybe he'll listen to you." And I'm like, "It has to be chosen."
Yes.
This is not the easy path, y'all, but it's
No.
worth it. I would rather be empowered than a victim.
I mean, absolutely. I think it's like, it doesn't matter who you are, man or woman in this case, you have to choose what you want for your life. If somebody starts choosing it for you and you start trying to manipulate them through your action, I say this to guys that, you get so busy trying to learn the tricks of the trade. Why don't you just learn the trade?
Mm,
Like you're trying to learn a trick so you can manipulate your wife to think that you got it together.
right,
At some point, she sees your trick. So why don't you just learn the trade? Just become the guy that does it.
right.
And then you don't have to practice. You don't have to play anymore. You just be
Be
okay.
yep, rather than do, right? And it's again, it's reversing that my actions and my doing is the value that I have as a man as opposed to who you're being.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome.
So
So good, so good. Okay, let me let's wrap this up with what advice let's say that there are men that are struggling in a relationship or they're heading down divorce or they've just gotten divorced and they're ready to start to look inward. What advice would you give them as like their first steps that's really going to hit home with them of how they can start learning themselves better?
it's going to sound so weird and it's going to sound so, they're going to be like, this is cheesy as shit. Because I thought the same thing. So I do this thing called 3x5s. I've been doing it for 12 years. I have all my clients do them that are, especially when they're starting their journey or they've been broken to pieces. I want them to build a relationship with themselves. That's like, I want you to fall in love with the man that you are. And so in 3x5s every day, it's you write, you write down in the beginning, and then I get to a point where I just say it in the mirror. I want to look myself in the face. And so it's write 5 things you love about yourself today. And every day it changes. And just look yourself fucking dead in the eye sockets and actually say, I love you, man. I want to buy myself a beer. Like I like this guy. Right. And the second one is, um, mm, what are you proud of yourself for today and what you did? Why are you proud of you? And then the third one is, like I've already mentioned, is, what are 5 things that you can forgive yourself for?
Mhm.
And like getting them to see themselves as something to love
Yeah.
and not something I need to go find to love me.
Yeah. That you're not broken.
You're not broken. It it heals part of here. Like it just you get back to I'm all right. I'm okay. I don't need somebody to give me value. I have value to give people.
Yeah.
And a lot of men are, and from my experiences, like they're seeking something they already have because they haven't even uncovered what they have inside of them. And when you take off the blanket, they're like, I don't really need all this shit. I don't need people patting me on the back. I don't need applause. I don't need a woman to say that I'm lovable to be lovable. Like I am love as I am. And get into that, like that was the transformation of my heart, was to realize like God created me as perfect love. I can't be anything other than that. So why do I go to the world to try to find it?
Mm. Yep.
And when I stopped looking for it, I became it.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to identify as a partner or a husband. That's amazing. Not because you have a wife or a person who appreciates you, but because you already know that about you. Can't give what you don't have. You can't receive what you can't give yourself. So it's like if you know that you're showing up as the man or as the partner, as the husband that you desire to be, that you can respect, that you can look in the mirror and go, I'm proud of you. You're just constantly chasing somebody else's validation and opinion of you, and they're a human. They have their own flaws, right? They've got their own ways too. So it's gonna be a slippery slope. It's gonna be a carrot you can never fully get.
Yeah, it's the broken receiving muscle. It's the broken part of the feminine in men. Like we as men, we have feminine energy. Like
Yeah.
our emotional part is broke and our receiving part is broke. Because we don't love ourselves, we can't receive love from the world. That's why that's why men are like, I gotta go get, I gotta go get, I gotta go get, I gotta get. Like, why can't you're trying to get, why don't you just allow it to be there?
Yeah.
Like love is there, but you're trying to make people love you when all you gotta do is be it and it comes.
Yep. So worried about abandoning other people, but yet the first person you abandoned was yourself.
You.
Yes. That was one soundbite there.
Always. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jim, thank you so much for coming on today. Share with people who can find more about your programs, connect with you. Where can we find you on the web?
You can find me everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's d.conscious.man. Um, and on LinkedIn too. So
Yeah.
I have a podcast called The Masculine Code for Men. And then me and my wife have a podcast that we just rebranded. It's called Consciously Connected. So we'll be having our first episode of that next week.
Love it, love it, love it. We'll link all of that up in the show notes. And until next time, guys, have a good one.
Peace.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's episode. If this episode resonated with you and you're specifically a man, and if you're feeling stuck, tired of repeating the same patterns, constantly in conflict with your partner or a series of partners, or you're just wondering why the same struggles keep showing up in your relationships, then it might be time for something different. I created the Healthy Mentality program, get it, specifically for men who are ready to break free from the cycles that have been holding them back. I know, I'm a woman running a program for men. But here's the truth. There's a huge demand for men who need a space, a safe space where they can be seen, supported, and challenged without judgment. That's my gift. So this isn't therapy. It's a high-touch, small group intensive designed to help you build emotional strength, nervous system regulation so you can stop carrying the burden and stress of even a toxic childhood or toxic relationships, giving you some clarity and confidence in a way that feels safe, that feels real and powerful. In this small group, you won't just learn the tools, you'll connect with other men who get it and who are also ready to do the deep transformative work. That's where the real growth happens, in the connection. So if you're ready to be the first to know when the next round opens up, just DM me or drop a comment with the word HEAL, HEAL, on social media, and I'll get you added to the waitlist and give you some more details about this men's only program. This is more than just another program. It's a space for real breakthroughs, connection, and finally becoming the man you know you're capable of being if you could just get out of your own way. So until next time, remember, doing the work might feel uncomfortable, but staying stuck costs you so much more. Catch you on the next episode.